Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tony Vinchelle with the Stronger You Fitness, ASU Fit, and the Becoming a Stronger You movement. Happy Friday. I hope your Friday is going really well. I apologize again. I was at the ER from like 4 in the morning to I don't even know what time this morning with my kids, and then I had, with one of my kids, and then I had clients, and then I had a class. So forgive me if I look like I'm a little sleepy. I think I may have had, I don't know, I think I may be running on like 2 hours of sleep, which is not healthy, but I gotta do what I gotta do because I did not want to miss today. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Again, I hope that your Friday is going phenomenally well. And today concludes the last part of our Butts, Guts, and Guns series. So today is 5 Tips Friday. And today I'm going to be giving you 5 tips that you can implement today to help you tighten and develop your glutes, your abs, and your arms, meaning your biceps and your triceps, all about the butts, the guts, and the guns. So if you are here with me this morning or this afternoon in Facebook land, hop in and say hi. I would love to meet you if I've never met you before, and if I have already met you, it is always a pleasure to interact with you Monday through Friday at 12 noon. So, okay, so let's go back over what we have talked about this week. So if anybody needs to catch some of the older videos, you can do that. Monday, we talked about what you can do about your sagging butt. So why is your butt sagging and what you can do about it? We talked about that on Monday. On Tuesday, we talked about how to reduce the appearance of cellulite on your butt. On Wednesday, hump day, we talked about getting rid of the chicken wings, the flabby arms here in the triceps. So we talked about exactly why you may be holding on to some fat in that area, and we talked about exactly what it is that you can do about it. And yesterday, we talked about why you may be unable to see your abs, why you have been unable to see your abs, and exactly what you can do about it. And today, on 5 Tips Friday, I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you tighten those areas you really care about, so your abs and your butt and your arms without surgery, okay? And just let me go ahead and say this. It's not that I'm necessarily against surgery, but I do think that sometimes people use surgery as a miracle fix because they don't want to do the work. So I said that. That's my opinion, my 2 cents. It is what it is. And here comes the pink folder. We all know when the pink folder comes out, the knowledge comes in. So let's go ahead and start with tip number 1 for tightening your butts, guts, and guns. The first thing that you may want to do is when you work out, and we talked about this yesterday, when you work out, train that area first. Now you're going to have to choose. So if you have some issues with your butt and your gut and your guns, then for a while you're going to have, hey Tesnisha, thank you for joining me. For a while you're going to have to choose one that you're going to focus primarily on. Now you definitely want to make sure that you're training them all in rotation, but when I talk about training that muscle group first, you're going to have to choose one. And the reason why you want to train that muscle group first is because normally the muscle group that gets trained first during the workout gets access to most of the resources that are available for your workouts. And so because of that, that muscle group tends to respond better when it's trained first than the rest of the muscle groups that are trained during that workout. Okay, so the first tip, the first strategy that I can give you is, if let's say you're going to focus on your butt, okay, if you're focusing on your butt, then you would want to train your butt first. If you are focusing on your abs, then you may want to train your abs first. I know a lot of times in a lot of different programs, you see that the abs are trained at the end, which is fine, but if the abs are where you want to focus, then you want to make sure that you train those first. If it's not the butt, if it's not the abs, if you got the chicken wing thing going on here, then train your triceps first, okay? That muscle group that you care about the most, that you really want to focus on, train that at the beginning of your workouts, okay? That's tip number one. Number two, some of the reasons why we don't see development in those areas, and it's not just the butt, guts, and guns, that's what most women care about, but it's in all areas. Some of the reason why we don't see the progress, and hey, Miss Nifa, thank you so much for joining me today. Some of the reason why we don't see the progress is because we are training the same muscle group from the same angle. Example, when people like to focus on their abs, then the only thing they want to do is crunches. The only thing they want to do is sit-ups. Hey, Sunshine, thank you for joining me. They don't want to use the captain's chair. They don't want to do mountain climbers. They don't want to do deadlifts. They don't want to do any of those things. And so what happens is these areas that we're concerned about are comprised of different muscle groups. Remember, thank you for sharing, Tesnisha. Remember when I was telling you about the abdominal area, though, that's 4 different muscle groups that are all working together and all pulling the abs that you actually see on the top end. When you are talking about your glutes, we all know, or most of us should know, that there are 3 major muscles: your gluteus maximus, your medius, and your minimus, but you also have muscles from your hamstrings that are also a part of that as well. And so in order to see that development, when you are training, what I would suggest is choose at least 3 exercises, each from a different angle, so that you are hitting the different muscle groups that are attached to that muscle group that you really, really care about, so that you can get that full development, okay? Number 3, this is tip number 3. We talked about this yesterday. If you normally train high on the reps, so you're doing 40, 50, 60, 100, then you may want to consider adding heavier weights and going down on the reps. Now, I'm going to say this again for anybody who may not have been on any of the previous videos, or for somebody who might be watching this one for the first time and you've never seen any of the other videos, okay? When I say heavy reps, I don't mean, you know, those cute little pounds, because they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to add weights. I'm going to grab some 5 pounds. Like, it's cute, but it's not going to help you. So when I say heavier weights, I mean, for example, if you were going to do 15 reps, or if you were going to do 20 reps of a particular exercise, then if you are not having to dig down deep on the inside of you to pull out those last 5 reps, then what you are doing is not heavy enough and you are wasting your time. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say heavy. For the glutes, abs, triceps, and the calf muscles, when we talk about doing a high number of reps, I don't mean 20. If you are not doing 50 to 100, then to me, that's not high rep. That's not high rep. It is what it is. Because ultimately, the reason why you are focusing on this area is because you have some issues in that area and there's not a lot of development in that area. And the only way to really develop the area is to really work the area. And so if you are not seriously challenging yourself, then you are doing yourself a disservice and you are wasting your time. Well, I don't want to say that you're wasting your time, because working out is good for you and you get the endorphins and you get the oxygen and you get all of these things that go on with you physiologically that are positive. But in the grand scheme of trying to develop that area, those glutes or those triceps or the abdominal muscles, if you are not seriously challenging yourself, then you are wasting your time. Okay? Number 4, you all have heard this one before, but I'm going to say it again. You must ensure that you are drinking a minimum of half of your body weight in ounces of water. And let me tell you why. If you are eating at a caloric deficit and you are working out and you are really challenging yourself, then eventually what will happen is the fat will start to burn. Now, fat burn is the layman's term. What we really mean from a scientific standpoint is lipolysis. And what lipolysis is the breaking open of the fat cells, okay? When the fat cells break open, then those contents are released into your bloodstream. Here is what happens. If the fat cells break open and the contents are released, and you are not hydrated well enough to be able to flush those contents out of your system, then what will happen is those contents eventually will just recycle themselves back into the fat cells. And so as much as we are talking about making sure that you're training those areas first, making sure that you're doing these exercises from the 3 different areas or the 3 different angles, making sure that, you know, if you're training heavy, maybe you do more reps. If you're training with more reps, maybe you do heavy. As much as we can discuss this, when those fat cells start to burst and release those contents, if you are not properly flushing your system, not only are the fat cells going to find themselves back in, or those contents going to find themselves back into those fat cells, but then you may also experience some additional issues with cellulite. Okay? So it's not a magical cure. It's not a magic trick, but it is the absolute truth. Okay? So that's number 4. Number 5, you have got to be consistent with your proper eating. Now remember, I tell you all, I don't give you miracle pills. There are no miracle pills. There are no miracle exercises. There are no miracle treatments. There are no quick fixes. You must do the work. If you only want temporary results, then you do the work for the results that you are willing to get, understanding that your results are only going to be temporary. Okay? If you want more permanent results, then you have got to make better choices. And you have got to be consistent over a long period of time. And so as much as I'm telling you, train that area first. Make sure that you're working the muscle from different areas. Making sure that you're alternating between heavy and light and all of these different things. As much as I am saying that, if you are doing this and eating crap food, it's not going to work for you. I'm going to say that again. If you are doing all of these things and you are eating crap food and you are dehydrated, none of this is going to make a difference at all. And you must understand that if you want to see these results. Okay? You must be consistent. And in all things, you must be consistent. You must be consistent with your training. You must be consistent with your programming. You must be consistent with your hydration. You must be consistent with your food. You must be consistent. The bottom line is, if you are not in this thing for 6 months or longer, if you're not in it for the long run, then you are not ready for permanent results. And that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person and the next person a better person. It doesn't make you right and the next person wrong. It's not about any of that. But it's about coming to grips with what it is that you are actually willing to do. Because to do all of this without surgery takes time and it takes work. And if you are not willing to put in the work, you get out what you put in. Okay? So that is what I have for you today. I hope that was helpful. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know now. I'm just going to look over and check on my kid really quickly, because I got one of the kids here with me. Just want to make sure. Not feeling well. Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments, screams, or furies of pain? Screams and furies of pain. Right. Screams of pain and fury. Whatever. Anybody have any questions? Oh yeah, by the way, happy Easter for the people who celebrate Easter. I know that it's Easter Friday, and hopefully a lot of you are off. And if you're not off like me, at least you are sort of maybe half day in it today or something like that, hopefully. If not, then I hope you get home to some really good rest. Okay, so a couple of things. If you have not downloaded that infographic, totally free, Fitness and Nutrition for the Busy Professional. That's at asufit.com/4 for busy professionals. So make sure that you download that. If you are in the city of Houston, I still have spaces open for that Butts, Guts, and Guns group. Hey, Sarah, how are you? I still have spaces open for that Butts, Guts, and Guns group. Remember, the first 10 people who actually sign up for that will get that group at $200 a month, which, again, if you know my price point, that is an absolute steal. 2 days a week for an entire hour. All we are going to do is work on your butts, your guts, and your guns. So imagine that. So if you are in the city of Houston, thank you for sharing, Sarah. Definitely make sure that you check that out at asufit.com/BG2. And I do believe I have a question here from Sunshine. It says, I'm fairly small, so I don't want to get any smaller, but I have a layer of fat over my abdominal area. How do I get that fat off? Okay, so Sunshine, basically what has to happen is you have to drop the body fat and develop the muscle. Now, the body fat part has a lot more to do with what you are eating. And so you may want to take into account what you are eating and your consistency with what it is that you are eating. Because if you're on a specific plan, or if you're on a specific regimen and you're getting a little bit of this and getting a little bit of that, or you're missing a meal here and missing a meal there, all of that is sabotaging any progress that you could potentially have. Because remember when I talked about, I believe it was, what was that? Was that yesterday? Actually, when I talked yesterday, in that part about why you cannot see your abs, it's either an issue of having too much body fat over that area, not having big enough muscles in that area, or not having well-developed muscles in that area, right? So you need to assess. You skip meals often, not purposely. Okay, Sunshine, I'm gonna let you answer this question. What have I said about skipping meals? What have I said what happens when you skip meals, especially for women? And I'm not, I'm girl power all the way, but I also understand that physiologically we are not always the same. Okay? So you say that you skip meals often, not on purpose, but you do. So answer that question. Especially with women. What happens when we skip meals? And I'm just going to wait on that one. Your body holds on to the fat. And why does your body hold on to the fat, Sunshine? Why does your body hold on to the fat? I'll wait. By the way, for anybody else checking in, it said because it thinks you're starving, so to speak. Okay. So, Sunshine, we understand what is happening. So now the question for yourself becomes, what is it going to take for you to learn some better habits? Because let me tell you what's happening. Let me tell you what's going to happen, Sunshine. If you are consistently missing meals, then consistently missing meals is the same as being in a consistent state of dieting. Okay? Hey, Sarah, how are you? It's the same as being in a consistent state of dieting. What has to happen? And a lot of times women don't like hearing this because it's scary, because it sounds so scary, but it does not have to be. What now has to happen, Sunshine, is you need to put yourself in a position where you are now eating almost at a caloric surplus, because you have got to reset what you have done. Now, what does this mean? This means that you may have to gain a little bit of weight. Okay? However, if you are properly utilizing resistance training, then your muscle to fat ratio, okay, like you shouldn't be putting yourself in a position where you're gaining more fat than you are muscle if you are properly utilizing resistance training during this process. But ultimately, you're going to have to move up a little bit so that you can come down. Now, you may gain a little bit of weight. You may not gain any weight. You may enter what's called the sweet spot. Now, I don't know how long you've been training, okay? But we call it the sweet spot. And the sweet spot happens when there is an even exchange, almost, because nothing's 100%, but there's almost an even exchange for fat and muscle mass, which means that you may not see the scale move at all, but you will see some different changes in your body, okay? Now, the sweet spot tends to happen with people who are either brand new to resistance training or to people who have taken maybe a long hiatus, like 6 months or more, from resistance training. Those are typically the two populations that enter the sweet spot very quickly. Understand, though, that the sweet spot is temporary, and the period of time that you stay in that mode is going to be different for everybody. So I can't tell you how long you would stay in that mode if this is your particular situation. So if either one of those is your situation, you may not gain any weight. You may get that even exchange or that almost even exchange of muscle and fat mass, okay? But if you're not, if neither one of those is your situation, then you may gain some weight, okay? It says, I hope I get in the sweet spot. I would be new to resistance training. Okay, so theoretically, if you are new to resistance training, then it should be fairly simple. Oh, thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate you for jumping on. It should be less of a challenge for you to enter the sweet spot. It's not guaranteed, because again, it is based on different things like genetics and history and things of that nature, but it is possible. However, if you don't, then you need to just kind of become mentally prepared for the fact that you may gain some weight. And you have to be sure that you are mentally ready for that and that it's not going to bother your self-esteem. Okay, so like right now, I am finishing up, coming to the end of my stage where I've put on some more weight. Now I don't have as much weight as I used to. Like at one point I was almost at 160. What's up, Master Fee? At one point I was almost at 160. And I came all the way down from that when I was competing. However, when I first started competing, I didn't really know what I was doing. And so not everything that I did was healthy. And so I'm kind of on the tail end of the picking up on the weight. I think right now I'm about 147. Last time I weighed, I was 147. So I'm on the end of that. But I had to get mentally prepared for the fact that I know that I was not going to be as lean as I was. I had to get mentally prepared for the fact that some of my clothes were going to fit a little bit differently. I had to get mentally prepared for the fact that, you know, my cheekbones may not have been as visible. So these are the things that I had to mentally prepare myself for so that it would not damage my self-esteem when I went through that process. Because if it damages your self-esteem, then it causes you to do a lot of things. Like now you're really overeating, and now you're eating all the snacks and all the ice cream and everything that comes in your face. So you have to be prepared for that, but you have to look at it in the long term. Right? So I'm doing this right now because when it's time for me to go back to, you know, eating at a caloric deficit, I'm going to be able to better see the results that I'm looking for. So I know that was a super long explanation, but I wanted to make sure that I let you know that because I do tell the truth. I don't lie. I don't make any promises. I don't like doing that. And I know that there are a lot of people who do. So I just wanted you to have a full understanding of what this process is going to look like for you, not only physically, but potentially mentally and emotionally as well. So I hope that helped. Let me know. Who else has questions? Does anybody else have any questions? Questions, comments, screams of fury and pain. Whoop, whoop. I promise y'all I'm going to email Dr. Johnson this afternoon. I'm going to do it. Do it. Says, I totally understand all those subtle but obvious changes in my appearance, and they all matter to me, like the cheekbones, etc. Okay. So if you understand that, then you just need to be mentally prepared for that. And you have to see yourself as a beautiful person beyond what you consider to be your perfect body, if that makes sense. So whether that takes you doing affirmations, I don't know if you have like a coach, or maybe a spiritual coach or a therapist or somebody that you can talk to if it gets really bad, or a really good support system or a really good friend that you can talk to if your self-esteem starts to dip. But those things are going to be are going to be important. And then what may happen is you may put on the weight and you may realize that you don't want to be that small again. So when I look at some of my pictures from when I first competed, if you go on my Instagram on A Stronger You, way back when I first did my very first competition, I look at those pictures now and I don't want to be that small. I don't desire to be that small anymore. Now, I don't necessarily desire to be 147 right now, but I don't desire to be as small as I was when I competed that first time either. So now I know that, when I begin my process here in a couple of weeks, that I'm going to be looking for a happy medium, right? But just be prepared for those things, and understand that you are a beautiful person outside of whatever you think your perfect body is going to be. I don't want to be small, but I want to be small. I understand, Sunshine. I understand exactly what you mean. I understand exactly what you mean. Absolutely. But it'll be okay. You just have to have a really strong support system, and you have to see yourself beyond what you think that perfect body is. Like right now, I'm solid, but I can't see my six-pack. And if I'm not careful, I will let that bother me, right? So I don't have a gut. Like, I don't have a gut or anything. I think when I did the workout the other day, everybody could see really what my body looked like, because I gave you all basically full body, in the camera. So, and then there's some pictures of when I went to a party a couple of weeks ago, and you all can see the dress, and my stomach was out and all that. So I'm flat, but you can't see my six-pack right now. And so if I'm not careful, that could potentially bother me. You see what I'm saying? Oh, you're welcome, Sunshine. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so if I'm not careful, that can bother me. So if you know those things about yourself, then just start to be prepared for that. But if you're not prepared for that, then don't even embark on that journey, because it can be damaging if you're not ready for it. Okay? Anybody else have any questions? I'm just looking over on my baby over here. I actually need to go ahead and switch and look into some telemedicine docs myself, because we were at the ER this morning. We went in at like 4:30, and the bottom line is whatever the issue is, it's if I had access to a telemedicine doc, I could have logged in and said, hey, can I schedule an emergency appointment? He or she could have gone on and said, okay, what's the issue? These are the symptoms. Okay, this is what's going on. Go get some Motrin. Go get some of this. Have a good day. And that would have saved us like several hours in the ER. And I probably would have gotten a little bit more sleep. I don't know. My bags they're not too bad this morning or this afternoon, but I am sleepy. Any other questions? Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. If nobody has any questions, then I thank you all so much for hanging out with me this week. Next week is Back Fact. Okay, so tell all your friends. Monday through Friday at 12 Central Standard Time. We are going to be discussing back fat, and we're also going to talk about legs, because I had someone who had some questions about legs. So if you have friends, girlfriends, sisters, moms, even brothers, dads, and uncles who have the issue with the back fat. Now, the men don't have the underbra fat because they don't wear a bra. But, you know, if you have the issue with that back fat, then you definitely want to make sure that you tune in next week, because that is what we are going to be discussing. So next week's series is all about back fat, underbra fat, and our legs. So catch me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at A Stronger You, ASTRONGER, the letter U. Podcast, soundcloud.com/ASUFit, and download that infographic, ASUFit.com/4busy professionals. Until we speak again, thank you all so very much for hanging out with me during this time. I really appreciate your time and your attention. Until we speak again, stay strong, stay beautiful, and always work towards becoming a stronger you. Peace out.